One of the guests that we have with us today is the state party chairwoman, Mrs. Melody Potter. I'd like to introduce her, and I think she might have a couple words to say for us.
Can you say now?
Sure.
Where, hold on, please.
There you go, for now.
Let me come up there.
And there's a mic if you would like that, Melody.
I may not need it, but. Can y'all hear me? Okay.
Yes.
This looks great to see this room full. And I'd like to introduce a couple of other guests here. My husband, Rob Potter, who is the much better half of this couple. Michelle Wilshire is our state party treasurer. Paul Hartling, he is on the state executive committee, as the vice chairman of the South. But I just want to thank you all for coming out tonight. And there's a big commitment in what you're doing. We're all volunteers here. And the big thing we've got looking forward to is the 2020 election. And it's so important we're all united. And Wood County is a great county. You know, I've said this before, and y'all know this, that Arthur Boardman, our first governor of West Virginia, was a Republican. And Wood County was formed out of part of Harrison County. So there's lots of history here, rich in history. But we've got good opportunities. Just consider this a fresh start this evening. And I'm going to say something, I'll say this off the president. We're going to make Wood County great again. It was a lot of hard work, and you know, we'll work hard every day. If you all need anything at all from the state executive committee, just please call headquarters, and we're there to help. We're there for you. So I appreciate every single one of you, and I especially appreciate Delegate Azinger being here. He does such a great job. And the Azinger, the whole family is just wonderful. So I'd just like to give them a hand clap if you would. Thank you all for everything you know, that you do for the party. You know, this election, it seems like every election, the next election is always the most important. It seems like that happens every time. And this election is no different than any others. This is more important than the last one. But one of the reasons I'm a Republican is because of our Republican Party platform. And our Republican Party platform, on a state party, on a state basis, on a national basis, they're two of the most conservative that we've had in about 40 years. And I had the honor and the privilege of serving on the national platform. And one of the great things that we did on that platform is we added in, we made in our platform Jerusalem, you recognize it as the eternal home of Israel. And that is wonderful because you know what Scripture says, you know, that the Lord's going to bless those that bless Israel, but not bless those that don't bless Israel. So that's a wonderful thing. Pro-life. Warren was just telling me his wife's trying to start up West Virginians for Life here in Wood County. That's great. Just please support her. One of the great things that we did in this last election, how many of you were in support of passing Amendment 1? That's that pro-life amendment where there's no more taxpayer abortions, funded abortions in the state of West Virginia. There's 4 circumstances, and that's wonderful. And I tell you what, I stand for the entire Republican Party platform. Whether it is the sanctity of life, marriage between one man and one woman, I know sometimes that's not popular to say, but that's who I am. That's what I stand for, and I will stand up for it every time. And I thank Senator Azinger for writing the op-ed that he wrote in the paper about it, and it seemed to be all over the country. And I've gotten threatening letters about it, or threatening mail, which the UPS inspector has them. I stand for national security. Our state, we just passed education reform that the Senate and the House and the governor finally they came together on. You know, sometimes when you're in the legislature, you know, things don't always start out where everybody's all together, but we end up being together on things. And when the Democrats were in power, we would never have even mentioned charter schools. So as much as it went on there, you know, during the session of the legislature, be happy that they all came together. We've done so many great things, and I talked about this on the radio today a little bit. There's been 2 Supreme Court justices that just about a year ago it's almost a year ago, that were appointed by the governor. And that is Tim Armstead and Evan Jenkins. And they got elected. Who would have ever thought that that would have happened on the West Virginia Supreme Court of Appeals? So I think that at this point, I think we need to look at our blessings, make a fresh start. And you know what? I can always do better as a state party chairman. I'm not perfect. There's only one perfect person. You know what they did to him. But we can all always do a little bit better. But I want to thank you, thank you, thank you. I look forward to great things coming up. I know you all are maybe trying to plan a big dinner. And we're having voter registration drives across the entire state. We're working on the delegate selection process for the summer meeting of the State Executive Committee. There's so many great things going on. And if you count, you know, we sing in church that old song, count your blessings one by one. If we count our blessings of all the good things that we've got going on, they outnumber the negatives. But I want you to leave here tonight knowing that you're appreciated, there's good things that's coming, and thank you for what you do.
Thank you, Chairwoman Potter, and certainly thank you for everything you're doing to support us. Also with us tonight here on my right, I want to introduce Byron Fisher. Byron is here at my request as our parliamentarian for the evening. At this time, I would like to ask Secretary Bigley if he would do the roll call of attendance.
Yes, sir. Just here or present in your name. Mr. Ankrum. Mr. Brown.
Here.
Mr. Klein. Here. Mr. Dodrell.
Present.
Mr. Foggin. Mr. Gonzalez. Ms. Goodnow.
Here.
Ms. Lindley.
Present.
Mr. Rabat. Ms. Rabat.
Here.
Mr. Rexroad. Here. Ms. Stats.
Here.
Ms. Heckert.
Here.
Mr. Heckert.
Present.
Mr. Lindley.
Here.
Ms. Sanderford.
Here.
Mr. Sanderford.
Here.
Ms. Summers. Mr. Conley.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Has everyone gotten a copy of the agenda? Does anyone need a copy of the agenda? Let me ask that. Okay, with that being said, I would like to entertain a motion to approve this evening's agenda as it has been presented.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
We need to add more words in this because we were part of your presentation about
Okay,
Mr.
Okay.
Should we add them?
yeah, we can. I assume the plan was to do that again. Is that, I didn't, is he in here, Mark?
Outside.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, we'll just do that then? Okay, well, let's go ahead. Yeah, someone would someone like to get in first, and then we'll go through that process and we'll get back to the agenda. Thank you, Gladys, I did not know that he had that plan, so that's good, thank you very much. Perfect, thank you.
Mr. Chair, would it be appropriate to ask to acknowledge all guests here tonight? I know there was a signing, it'd be interesting to see.
Yeah, we can do that, we can read that sign-in sheet here shortly.
Okay. Mark, here.
Mark, proceed.
Hello.
The floor is yours.
Hi. I can scream at people. Good afternoon. I'm Mark Rhodes. I'm a county clerk. Actually, I'm here for two reasons. Ask if I could speak tonight. First, I have the new voting equipment here. So if anybody wants to test the sample ballot, please feel free. We've had a couple people already vote. I will tell you, it is not connected to the internet, so there's no hacking on this. The other reason that I wanted to come tonight was we made a proposal a couple of weeks ago to the county commission concerning precincts and precinct moves and some consolidations. We discussed executive committee consolidation a couple of years ago. No action was ever taken on it. But the big thing is we have schools that are closing. We have precincts in those schools that we're going to be moving them. So at the same time, we're looking at maybe consolidating the precincts. We have Waverly School. There's 2 precincts there. We have to move someplace because they're not closed at school. It's going to be about 200 yards away in the volunteer fire department. They're going to let us use the garage bay. There's 2 precincts there. We can consolidate it down to 1. There are 2 big precincts, 2 active precincts. Franklin Elementary or Franklin School, I don't think they're going to close it, but it's a bad location. It's down over the hill in the cafeteria. So it's a gravel road. There's one handicap parking spot at the bottom of it, is it. We'll move it back to south. It was the south until they did construction a couple of years ago. But we're also, with the election equipment that you see, I've already gotten in trouble for this because the big piece of equipment to your right, I call it a trash can. That's where your ballot goes. Those will have to be delivered by maintenance to the precincts. Right now, the supply commissioners come through, they pick up all the equipment. Maintenance is gonna have to deliver these because unless you're Vernon, and you got a really nice truck, you're not gonna pick that up and haul it to the precinct. So they're gonna have to deliver it, they're gonna have to pick it back up on Wednesday. Yeah. Again, it's just like most every other piece of equipment. You take the brains out of it, it's just a done piece of equipment. At the end of the night, in the morning, they're gonna put the brains in it. At the end of the night, they're gonna take the brains out of it, bring it back to the courthouse to tally the votes. With that, I'm gonna recommend closing Pond Creek Volunteer Fire Department. If you've ever been to Pond Creek, it's 5 miles from Belleville or 5 miles from Rockport. Just split it down the middle, send the north side to Rockport, the south side to Belleville. Yeah, and split the difference. That's some of the precinct moves that I'm looking at making changes in. And as I said, consolidate. I don't want to cut the poll workers. I don't want to cut the equipment. I still want to have all of that available. But if you walk into middle school, we have precinct 42, precinct 42A, one's in the gym, one's in the cafeteria. The horrible election of 16, people were standing in line for 30 minutes to get to the table to find out that they're standing in the wrong line. So if we consolidate and make that one precinct, they're going to stand in line. They're going to get through. They don't have to worry about going to get into another line. We'll still have the same number of equipment there. They'll still be able to vote. Hopefully it's going to be as quick. And I'm going to say that that was a very unusual election, and I hope that the Republican Executive Committee decides not to put all of those delegates to the National Convention back on the ballot again. Since there's somebody with authority here. Because normally, if you voted in Wood County, 10, 15 minutes may be a wait time on the average. And that's what we would like to see. We'd like people to be able to get in and get out, make their choice and move on. Anyway, if anybody has any questions, please let me know. I do have some sheets that I'll lay out over here that has the proposal that we presented to the county commission. I will put it this way, I know it's not going to happen, other than the moves that we're going to be required to make. We'll have some consolidation. I'd like to take one school and do an actual consolidation and see how it works in this next election cycle before we try to do more. So, but it's a proposal.
If you tune up the availability, the poll workers and stuff do a good job of letterizing. It's confusing for some of them up there where to go, but can you mark it a little better so that people know which store they're supposed to go into? But some go on one side, some go on the other side.
And you're right, it's the same as Mineral Wells. It has 4 precincts in it. There's 2 in the elementary side, there's 2 in the junior side, and everybody gets a card that says this is where you're supposed to go. But the same thing, I mean, I vote where I vote, there's 2 precincts. I walk in, and I know that Janet is the poll worker that's been there for the last 30 years, checking me in. I still can't tell you today what my precinct number is.
There's a lot
I
of
just
people,
recognize the people.
There's a lot of people in my precinct that are elderly people that get a little bit confused and then they go into the wrong door, and then they gotta walk from one side of that building to the other. I think it would be helpful if we did something to mark it a little better.
Yeah, we did have precinct signs outside of the building. Again, it's one of those, if you're not for sure what your precinct is, if you don't have your card to look at it, or you're not familiar, because like I said, a lot of people don't remember what their number is. But if we can do consolidation, then we'll just have the cafeteria lined up, basically like an early voting site. Have the cafeteria lined up with machines, and we'll have the poll workers there to sign people in and get them through. So hopefully there won't be anybody getting lost or going from one room to room. But we do have that in multiple locations, multiple precinct locations. Yes, ma'am.
Since you brought up about the voting for the delegates, I would just like everybody to know that at the state executive committee meeting in August, we're going to have 3 options that the state executive committee is going to be voting on. And one's going to be the primary ballot, one's going to be winner take all, the other one's going to be a convention. And the state executive committee votes on it, and I will say, for about the past year, I have heard from county clerks across the state, because they're afraid that if we have a long ballot again, and if they vote on it, that's what we'll have, okay? But they're concerned about people not being able to get the vote all the way through the ballot. So, and I don't have a vote except for a tie, so.
And you're right, and it's one of those, it was a very long ballot, and people got lost. And I can tell you, my wife, when she went to the polls, she took it out of the newspaper, and she marked, there was only one person I told her to vote for, or asked her to vote for. Sorry, I shouldn't say tell her. There was one person that I asked her to vote for, that I knew, and she marked it on the newspaper, and she took it with her. And it still took her 15 minutes to find only the 5 out of the, what was it, 237 or 276 that was listed. It took her like 15 minutes to find those names, to mark them, and she knew exactly who she was voting for. So, you know, people got lost in just the volume of the names, is what it was. And we got lost in the ballot presentation trying to proof it. So, but, yes.
Have you determined yet where the precinct will be in Williamstown?
It will still be in school.
Which one?
Which one? I mean, well, we have 3 precincts in Williamstown. We have 1 in the city building, and then we have 2 in the school currently.
Who will be there?
And in the new school. Actually, there is a proposal to take part of the old school and make it a community center. And if so, I've already asked to use that for the precinct location and for early voting.
You still want to maintain 2 precincts in one building?
Yes.
Yeah.
Secretary Bigley, if you would ask for a request, let's go ahead and just quickly read off the visitors list, if you don't mind. And I'll remind you, that gives me the opportunity one more time to say that visitors are always welcome as long as you are a registered Republican in Wood County. Yeah. Yeah, that's fine. Our guest here this evening is David Grounds, Rocky Peck, Barbara and Robert Smith, Rick Modisett, Mike Howerton, and Kerry Dobbin. Thank you all for coming out today.
Some did, some
Sure, we didn't have some sign-ins.
Okay, are we now ready to move on to the agenda? Okay, I'd like to see if we could get a motion to approve the agenda as presented, please.
I'll make the motion, we approve the agenda as presented.
Okay,
I'll second.
okay, thank you. We have a first and we have a second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
All opposed, nay? Okay, the agenda stands approved as presented. At this point in time, we'd like to have a report of the minutes. And those minutes for the May 21st meeting have been printed, posted, and circulated by Secretary Warren Bigley. Are there any corrections or amendments to the minutes at this time?
Mr. Chair, it's
Yes, sir.
difficult to even bring this up. There are a lot, to me, in my opinion, significant things missing from the minutes from the last meeting. I don't know how, other than taking several minutes to go through and discussing significant things that I think need to be in the minutes in the event that our minutes end up in court as evidence. Significant things such as, I asked about roll call. the former chair or the chair last month, with the, I'll say the approval of the officers, the rest of the committee, didn't have a problem with the sign-in sheet. Minutes say roll call. Thank you for doing that. These are the bylaws, roll call. We discussed that, we were told we didn't need to do it because we had a sign-in sheet. That's wrong. It needs to be recorded because that was a failure of this committee to follow its own bylaws.
We can record that.
I questioned, how do we get a copy of the bylaws? And was told that if I wanted a copy, we as a committee was told, if we wanted a copy of the bylaws, we had to contact the Secretary of State's office. That needs to be in the minutes. Again, if other things end up in the courtroom, we need to make sure we have our things accurate. I find it funny that the comment about me saying something about Scott Hacker and his name being with the T was in there, but what's missing is the fact that I made a fool out of myself because it was the chairman previously had made it such a big funny issue that how we needed to keep accurate minutes. That wasn't in the minutes, that our chairman said how important it was to keep accurate minutes. There was a motion missing in the March minutes, and I tried to correct it. And this was after the minutes had been approved. I brought it back up again that the minutes were not accurate. And that was kind of just pushed off. So it needs to be in the records or in our minutes that we found a flaw in the minutes and it was refused to be acknowledged and corrected. It says in these minutes that Gladys called for the floor and the chair refused for her, calling her out of order. Okay, but the truth is that Gladys was given 1 minute, and it was 60 seconds to the moment that she actually vented what she needed to say. And then myself and also Mr. Rexroad tried to get a minute, and we were denied. It needs to be in our minutes that members were denied the opportunity to discuss things that we thought were important. I'm trying to read my notes here. But, you know, I can keep going. I don't know what else to say. I can't approve these as they are. Or I can't vote to approve, maybe the committee can, when they are so grossly inaccurate. I don't know how else to say that. You know, maybe we do need to start either video or audibly recording our minute or our meetings so that things that are said in here are a matter of public record. So it's not he said, she said, back and forth. And when you look at these, there was a lot of he said, she said that really isn't that accurate. So I don't know how to even touch on that subject any further other than, I mean, I could trust me, I keep going, I just got to interpret my notes.
Well, Kenny, with your indulgence, let me make this as a recommendation. Let's go ahead and add to these minutes the 3 or 4 things that you talked about. And let me add this going forward. You know, today's a new start. Today, we're drawing a line in the sand and we're moving forward and we're not looking back. So with that being said, you know, according to Robert's rules, it's pretty limited as to what you have to have in the agenda. But with that being said, it's transparency. I don't care what we put in the agenda, or I'm sorry, in the minutes. You know, if it wants to be in there specifically, absolutely, we'll put it in the minutes going forward. But
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Conley?
I just want to make a point, and I would admonish Mr. Klein to read Robert's Rules of Order and to read what the Secretary's role in regards to a meeting that is not a public meeting. This isn't a public meeting. You must be a registered Republican to attend this meeting. These minutes are not published for a journal. They are available to Republicans. Robert's Rule states that the Secretary is simply to take note of action taken. Action taken. I am not supposed to sit here and be a court reporter and dialogue transcript for every conversation taking place in a meeting. As a matter of fact, some commentaries on Robert's Rules of Order call that absolutely inappropriate for a secretary to keep a journal of every written word said. So with that being said, for 2.5 years now, I've been the secretary of this committee, and not a scintilla time has one person made any snide comment about my minutes. Not one. I have had trouble with the Rabatin spelling their name from time to time. I referred to Gladys as Gladdy a number of times, and I've been corrected on that. But as far as the overall minutes of a meeting, not one time has there been an objection until a couple months ago when you started objecting. Not one time in 2.5 years. So my suggestion is, if you don't like the minutes, I guess there could be an open debate now about removing me as secretary. And that would be, I assume, fine if the rest of the committee sees fit. But I'm going to continue on with how Robert's Rules asks for this minutes to be done, and how I've done these minutes for 2.5 years that have been overwhelmingly, unanimously approved by this body for 2.5 years. I yield the floor, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Mr. Conley,
Mr. Brown.
when I been in other sectors of politics, on city council, you can have all the debate you want. But unless there's a motion and a second, the secretary does not write it down. And then the vote. That is the only time the secretary takes notes. It does not take, you can stand up here and preach for an hour, but it's not going to be in the minutes. That's not his job. His job is to take vote, take a motion, get a second, and if it's not seconded, it doesn't go on the ballot. It doesn't even show up next meeting. So, I think somebody ought to read something first.
Thank you for your comments. Somebody?
I just want to say that, I'm the secretary of the Republican Letter, and at our last board meeting, I had a presentation, on the Robert's Rules for secretary, and, Warren's right, you only record action taken, you don't record every conversation. And they actually warn you not to even try it is action taken, and they're pretty, very accurate.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think that the whole, the committee as a whole, I would think, looked at it as we're starting over from the beginning, and we're gonna have the same growing pains if this is our first meeting ever. One person's opinion on how something should be done is one way, but Robert's Rules of Orders is the way, it's basically the law of the land, it's the Bible. I've checked up on how one does it. Sometimes I think other things should be in there, but on the other hand, I don't want to be the one that does it. But if it's not an action taken, he doesn't have to report it. But I think that the committee as a whole should concentrate on working together and pulling together and let what's happened in the past be in the past, start over and work towards a better future. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, appreciate that. Okay, let's move forward with the report of the minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I
Yes.
move the report of the minutes with your corrections and additions be accepted as presented.
Second?
Second.
Okay. Oh, you already did that? Okay, very good. All right, with that being said, the report of the treasurer, the minutes, the motion to approve the minutes as amended will be voted on. All those in favor, aye? Aye. All those opposed? Okay, the ayes have it, so let's move on now, if we could please, to the report of the treasurer. The report of the treasurer will be presented by our treasurer, Gladys Lindley. Gladys?
May the 21st, we had a balance on hand of $4,480.39. We had no receipts, and we had disbursements to the Parkersburg Homecoming for a booth for $250. As of today, was a balance on hand of July 16, 2019, $4,230.39.
Thank you, Gladys. Are there any questions pertaining to the treasurer's report?
I move they be accepted as presented.
Okay. Yeah, we filed for audit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. All right, thank you, Louis. Okay, that brings us on to the chairman's report. And I'm going to make it pretty brief this evening. A lot of the things that I was planning on saying has already been said, but I think we need to say it again, you know, we've got a wonderful opportunity to advance the Republican agenda. I'm asking that everyone in this room work with me, work with your fellow committee members, work together. We've got to get rid of the I mentality. We've got to get rid of the egos. There's too much to lose. There's been a tremendous amount of gains. We don't want to take a step backwards. We want to move forward. Right now, we've got the governor's office. We've got the majority in the House. We've got the majority in the Senate. On a county level, we hold almost every seat in the county. I want to make sure that we keep those seats. I want to make sure that the ones that we don't have, we get. That's what all of us here in this room are supposed to be doing.